Hi guys, it's Emily. Danny's here. Hi, Danny.
Hi.
We just finished recording Words and Afterwords number 58. And if you're listening to this, you're watching Words number 58 on YouTube. And we're here to apologize.
Acknowledge. We're acknowledging.
Acknowledging that Words number 58 was a little boring, but we can't not put it there because we're beginning the long dive, apparently,
laying bricks
into the Santa Fe Institute. And it's one of these things that's so hard to sort of lay out. You have to give some groundwork, and it's so big you don't really know where to start. So the hour that's on YouTube here is not the most exciting, but we're laying out some necessary segments of the road to get to somewhere good. So watch it. It's not the most exciting thing ever. It's really more just laying out a case on certain levels.
And it's important. It's important so that we all have the backstory to catch us up to speed. So muscle through it.
Muscle through. Like I try, like a lot of people are like, Emily, you shouldn't have to worry about people being entertained, but like life is short. So I try and make my stuff as much as I can informative and entertaining both. This one is kind of, it's not, but there is a free promo code down below to go over and get Afterwords, which is an hour and a half long, and that's the good shit, right? But
it's not boring.
We had to lay it out. So the promo code is down below. We didn't know it was going to be that way. We were hoping to knock it out of the park in both segments, but I guess we had batting practice in round one, and then we hit it out of the park and ran round two. But you guys can link and go over and get a free month and check out Afterwords on our locals page, wordspodcast.locals.com. We didn't do it on purpose. It's just the way it went. But I think segment 2 is phenomenal, and you guys will like it. Anything else you want to say?
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining our locals. More to come. Again, we're laying the groundwork, so muscle through it because we're taking you someplace awe-inspiring / disturbing.
Absolutely. All right, guys, enjoy the show. We'll see you on the other side. Take care. Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm Emily Moyer. Danny Katz is in her Masonic portal, but somehow still here with me. This is episode number 58 of Words. And this is we're going to begin the birthing process here. I guess last week we set the stage, but now it's like I guess that was like we had the contractions and we're headed to the hospital, and now we're ready to give birth to the baby that you've been working on. Really, like I just kind of come in and do my little tap dance around it.
You did a lot of decoding.
I'm a decoder, right? But this is sort of your baby. You kind of found this, and this does seem like it could be the black hole to like the never ending black hole, because like you just sent me another paper the other day and I just read like 4 or 5 pages of it, but it was like, not only did it connect to that, which the things we're talking about, but it was literally connecting to the show I was about to start in an hour. And it was about tennis, and there was just shit all over the place, right?
Like weaving it all together.
So
this is like the never ending gift that keeps on giving. Even this morning, I was dumping in, and it just keeps like a new wormhole opens, and I'm like, shit, this is like a lifetime of work to unpack just this one little op that we're covering, or massive op that we're covering.
Yes. So, all right. So, I think what we introduced Aubrey and Daniel in a more significant way last week. We've talked about them both before, but I think both of us feel like we have found a little gem on Daniel Schmachtenberger, and we haven't told each other what it is yet. So we're curious if it's the same thing.
Okay, so my gut tells me that it's exactly the same thing. And to set the stage, I'm a little bit cancel, clear, delete. I had a moment of being mad at myself because I couldn't believe that I forgot to share this with you. So I'm going to share the screen, especially on last week's show where I think it would have been way more appropriate. This is how Daniel Schmachtenberger first came onto my radar. The Neurohacker Collective. He makes Qualia, director of R&D and co-founder of this nootropic.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
That's what I was going for when Emily makes that look. And
this is not what I have. I have a completely different gem, but do you take this supplement?
Okay, so check this out. So this is Qualia. And when this came out, and I believe this came out before On It. I was in LA when this was
and look at the symbolism there. Yeah, all right.
Right? And again, I don't know how, but the company sent me a free sample. Shocker. And I instantly got depressed and threw them away.
So I'm just looking at this and I'm just telling you that it's the exact same products that Aubrey has with just different labels directed at different audiences.
Same.
This looks exactly like what On It looked like before it was popular. Like when when like in the early days of On It, like in 2011, that's what it looked like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this isn't the gotcha, but this just catches us up to speed. Now, so I took a ton, let me stop the share so I can get a little bit more organized. So I've noticed in researching this that shit is disappearing from the web so fast. Mm-hmm. Like something that I found last week, all of a sudden I can't find. And when we get into the meat of the matter, the plot thickens. Okay, so, but I found Daniel's bio. Let me pull it up. Okay. And this is where I think you and I probably got the same thing. Not that. Okay, here we go. Not that bio. He has multiple bios. Okay, so here's number one. Occupation, social philosopher, birthplace, not disclosed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that, and we had our Marx thing happening.
Right. It's funny. Somebody responded that they were thinking that he looked like Terence McKenna. And then when I pulled up Karl Marx, Karl Marx, and it's funny because I had thought Terence McKenna too. And he does. He looks like the bastard child of Terence McKenna and Karl Marx. But it was funny because I decided for the sake of the direction that our show was going at that moment that Karl Marx I was just going to do just Karl Marx. But somebody's like, it's Terence McKenna and Karl. It totally is Terence McKenna and Karl Marx. Yeah.
Exactly. And it makes sense. And then there's this quote unquote nonprofit media organization, Consilience Project, which we will for surezies come back to. Okay, so, okay, we already did that one. Check this one out. These are all pulled from his bio, and I just took screenshots because things are disappearing from the web. Not much is known about his father. My dad was an old breed of men. So I just keep going back to this Karl Marx thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this old breed kind of man. Check out his education. Body Mind College and Maharishi International University, where he's studying counseling, psychology, and mathematics. So question number one is, why is he R&D for a nootropic formula? Research and development, like he's not doing media development around it, right? He's not like a consultant. He's legit R&D. Now this piece, he has a diverse educational background in the natural sciences, social sciences, and philosophy, most of which he got outside of institutional settings. And there's no information about his date of birth.
This is his own bio?
This was pulled, his bio doesn't exist. He doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
Okay, well, that's my big nut, is that I had this when I was listening to what I was listening to in order for the dump that I'm going to do in the afterwards, the decode dump of something. I was like, I wonder where Schmachtenberger's from. Like, what is his ethnicity? Is he a Hungarian Jew? Like, I was going to go, and so I went looking for his birthplace, and I'm like, holy shit, he doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
No,
that's my big nut. Like but look at this. The reason he doesn't have a Wikipedia page is because they don't want, because everything that all the biographies out there that are about him are either ones that are written by him or written by people who he works for, or they work for him. There's no scenario where someone else who has a different idea about his background can go in and contribute or edit, right? Yeah. And so to me, this is I think this is evidence that there is a family background that would be not like, I mean, I think it could be I don't know if we're looking at like some sort of George Soros connection in the family, because he does sort of look a little bit like that scenario going on too. Also a Hungarian Jew. I don't know if this is the Karl Marx thing. I don't know. But I don't see how it's possible that he couldn't have a Wikipedia page. And then I think about what David says about how much they worked on concealing Dustin Moskowitz's identity. And so I think this is that they're coming out of the same situation. They probably went to Burning Man together.
I'm sure. And I mean, I'm not sure, but I would bet that that's the case as well. This has shifted because I'm going to get into this, but the way that Daniel popped onto my radar, the web has been scrubbed of that since.
Okay, so I want to just throw one idea in there, and I'm not saying you're wrong about this, but I just want to consider this because the internet is this ever-shifting, mutating thing, and obviously things have been disappearing from the internet for a long time.
Yep.
What I have found for the most part is if you can remember a sentence from the page you were looking for and type that sentence in, you can still find it on the internet. It's harder to find if you're looking for the name of the document or the website or whatever. But if you can remember a rare sentence from the article or from the paper, but upon occasion, that's not working anymore, right? And so
it doesn't work with everything that's been scrubbed from the web on me in terms of my articles and blogs that I've tried to find.
Okay, so it's possible that those whatever papers or websites you were working for, that they deleted it from their publicly available database or whatever. So that's possible. But I'm going to throw another idea out there in that I think we're into multiverse, multidimensional realities here, and I don't know that we're in the same place every day.
Oh, completely.
So why would we have the same internet every day? And I think what's happening here is like there are certain threads or ideas that have had enough resonance that they appear in every version of reality, and others that don't. And it would also be interesting to see if like let's say that there was a project that I had researched, and that page where I was able to find the research on that isn't there anymore. And it would be interesting if there was also like that project isn't going on anymore, or like we're not like the people who are sort of associated with that seems to resolve it. Like Jeff and I got into something about Britney Spears and about the Mandela effect, and somebody was having a Mandela effect that Britney Spears never did that "Hit Me Baby One More Time" video in the Catholic school, the Catholic school uniform. No, other people say it's still there, but for this person, like in whatever scenario they were in the day they discovered this, it wasn't there anymore. And it's interesting. It was about the same time that she got broken free from the conservatorship with her father, right? Mm-hmm. And if you like, I like to listen to Sloan Bella sometimes, and she had this channeling of Britney Spears, or not channeling, but psychic impression, that this was like a many generations old issue she was in with her family. And she was talking about the way Britney Spears was sort of being tortured energetically and whatever. And like one wonders, and that this was the conservatorship was keeping her trapped in this prison. And like, if she cleared the trauma, right? If she was able to do, if something happened that sort of cleared that trauma out, and that was why the conservatorship, either the conservatorship being lifted, cleared it, or whatever cleared it, made that also go away. If you think about it, in a healthy reality, she would never have been in a video like that. If her life was what's best for her, that would never have happened. So when someone clears, cross-generational traumas, is that part of what causes Mandela effects or shifting universes or whatever? So I think sometimes with some of the things that go missing, we're just not in the same reality. And other times it's the scrubbers.
I think you're totally right. And that makes a lot of sense. And in this particular instance, I know it's been scrubbed. Okay. So I'm going to share the video now. So this was what had originally put Schmachtenberger on my radar. And I just want to, let me pull up the transcript so we can get to the time codes.
So just remember that if you're playing a YouTube video, that might cause, since we're back on YouTube now, and I think it's been a good thing to go back, that could create an issue for us.
Well, I think if we say fair, MoFax is always like fair use, fair use, fair use.
All right.
And then YouTube doesn't mess with him.
All right, fair use, and I'll see if I can find that fair use little thing.
If you would prefer, I can just read you.
Read it.
I can read it from it.
Read it. Yeah,
okay,
read it.
So, but one thing that I do want to do is I want us to just see the cover, because this got disappeared. All right, so I won't play it, even though fair use. And so this is the video where Schmachtenberger originally was put on my radar, okay? And this, well, I'll tell you in a second. So this is just some random channel, John B, okay? With 436 subscribers. This is the only place that this video exists anymore. And
what is Emergence?
So Emergence is, it's not like a festival, but it's like a conference that's put on by, okay, we're getting into the Santa Fe Institute. This was sponsored by the Santa Fe Institute. Emergence is sponsored by Santa Fe Institute and the New Mexico Natural History Museum. And this has been scrubbed from anything Santa Fe Institute related. But when I first saw this video, it was on the Santa Fe Institute website, which is how Santa Fe Institute originally popped onto my radar.
Okay.
So
send me, when we're done with recording today, send me that so I can link it in the show notes so people can go check that out.
Okay, perfect.
So we can have more copies of it everywhere. So yeah, there we go.
Okay, great. So, I mean, what he said, and this is at 4 minutes, 56 seconds, he says, complexity theory is defined most generally in terms of more elegantly ordered complexity. That's actually the best definition we have in terms of mathematical complexity theory coming out of Santa Fe Institute. So he says it in this video, but the web has been scrubbed of Daniel being part of Santa Fe Institute or ever having done anything at Santa Fe Institute. But this video is proof positive because he says it. And I also I've put some more pieces together to prove that Emergence was at Santa Fe Institute and sponsored by Santa Fe Institute.
Okay, so for those of you who haven't figured it out, this show and probably a series of several shows is going to be a deep dive into the Santa Fe Institute and all of this sort of arms and legs that grow out of it. And so, Dani, did Daniel Schmachtenberger lead you to Santa Fe Institute? No. The thing that led you to Santa Fe Institute was the Russian thing, right?
It was that Russian video.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm not going to play it because it's just in Russian, but someone sent me a video it's kind of hard to find. And it was in Russia, and some Russian government official was talking about this 2018 Santa Fe Institute NSA co-sponsored, kind of like an event 201.
Right.
For the situation that we're living through right now.
That we're not talking about on YouTube. Right.
We're not talking about on YouTube. And so as soon as this video landed on my radar, and the piece, I'm bummed that I'm not going to share it, but I don't want to get us in trouble with the SFI, with YouTube, is that Daniel talks about choosing to consciously evolve and living as verbs versus nouns. And I was like, oh my God, we're doing the same thing. We're talking about the same thing. And that's what had me reach out to Santa Fe Institute and say, hey, I'm a local, I'm working with language in this way. And it was just like a brick wall of like, we don't want anything to do with you. And I was like, that is so weird. I don't get that. So there's another tell in the video where he talks about like psychopathy, and we'll share the link, and I'm excited for people to check it out. All right, so I plan to share the video, so I'm just going through my notes and seeing if there's anything else from this video that I need to talk about. Okay, so he talks about, he keeps talking about this sort of move towards communism, but he says specifically in this video, I'm not talking about communism, I'm not talking about socialism, when that's exactly what he's talking about.
So he says, let's make this move towards communism, but I'm not talking about communism.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. And
he's Karl Marx,
He's Karl Marx, exactly. And then there's this other video, and again, I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get us in trouble, but I just want us to look at the title just so we can get an idea of where he's coming from and what he's up to. Can you see the title of this?
Yep.
So this was a talk he gave in 2020.
Wow.
All right. So Santa Fe Institute, since now we're in it, they started as the Rio Rancho Foundation.
Rio Grande Institute. I have
Rio
some
Grande
stuff on that for the second part. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so let me share the amazing Polly video about this. She just did like a few minutes. Firefox completely blocked me from playing this video today. So I thank God for Brave. But this is a really good overview of what Santa Fe Institute is about. Fair use, amazing Polly. Thank you.
It's on BitChute, so it's different. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Oh wait, you know what? I might not have shared the sound, so let me just one more time.
If you share the sound, you don't even need to share the video. You don't. Well, let's just do it how you want to do it. Go ahead. Okay.
I wonder what really goes on at CERN. It's kind of a sketchy, crazy place. And the Santa Fe Institute, look at their symbol. Kind of has a Nazi vibe to me. They give a little description of what it is here. Here's some of the types of projects that they work on. Efforts to create artificial life, chaos theory, genetic algorithms, econophysics, systems biology, evolution of human languages. All this kind of merging of man and machine. It's called technocracy. It's called cybernetics as well.
Yeah.
So that's what the Santa Fe Institute is. And it's, whatever, you're allowed to look into these things. But the part that's really strange is that they partner with the U.S. Department of Energy on various studies. And you see here that they were interested in mutation, genetics, and evolution at the U.S. Department of Energy. When I think of Department of Energy, I'm thinking of oil and gas, fracking, dams, hydroelectric power, nuclear energy, that sort of thing. Why are they looking at genetics and human language and chaos theory and synthetic biology? Why are they looking at that kind of thing? Also, here are the authors of that paper. Murray Gell-Mann, Christine Maxwell.
We'll get to Murray Gell-Mann. He's a big
There she is again. They're like ghosts. They appear in all of these places. Let's look at a map. Where is the Santa Fe Institute? Here it is up here on the map. And what's 59 minutes away? But the Zorro Ranch, Epstein's ranch in Santa Fe, is 59 minutes away from the Santa Fe Institute. But you know what? That's not the only interesting thing around there.
Donated $250,000, I think it was, to the Santa Fe Institute as well. And I will pull this up. Bill Gates is also a big donor to Santa Fe Institute. Okay.
Did you know that the Bronfman family, yes, the Bronfmans, those Bronfmans, have a church in Santa Fe, New Mexico? It's called the União do Vegetal. And basically what it did was it got itself a license to import ayahuasca under the guise of being a religion. This is their cult compound, I guess. The actual address is over here with this little shack. But look what's across the road. I have a feeling this is the actual União do Vegetal compound here. I might do a video on this separately, so we'll leave it there for now. But this is what it looks like. The Santa Fe Institute is a couple of minutes away by car from the ayahuasca cult. Ayahuasca is like a mind-altering. It's sort of been compared to LSD, but it's a tea that comes from the rainforest. Anyway, it's a couple of minutes away from the Santa Fe Institute, and that's only an hour away from Epstein's ranch. Very interesting. Somewhere right over here is the Los Alamos Labs. That's the nuclear testing ground.
Okay. So that's like kind of an overview of what they're into. Did you pull, I have a lot of pieces from one of the Department of Energy reports.
So I read about 5 or 8 pages of that, and I had a lot of stuff on my plate this week. I haven't had a chance yet to read more. But
No problem.
the Department of Energy thing, so this is actually this is always the case. The Department of Energy is always involved. Have you watched Stranger Things?
I tried. It was painful, but I did watch the first season.
Okay, so that's all emanating from the Department of Energy. The facility there has a machine underground that emits a tremendous amount of energy, i.e. a particle accelerator, basically, right? Yep. That is sort of, and it's hidden under a shopping mall, right? Kind of thing. So there's a Department of Energy, location, and then there's this shopping mall, and there's this underground facility that sort of connects them, right? Yep. With the particle accelerator, and it's creating all of this sort of chaos that's going on. It's opening interdimensional portals and causing everything that is the basis for the story. It's funny that you can't watch it, because whenever we watch it, Laura always talks about how much Winona Ryder reminds her of you in that show.
Oh, yeah. God, I don't think. I'm sorry, Laura, for whatever I did to you. I hope we can repair our relationship at some point.
Winona Ryder is really good in the show. She's actually very good in the show. But
I feel like she wasn't really good in. I rewatched Heathers the other day, and I was like, she's terrible. Like,
I think she's.
I loved her in Reality Bites.
She's a better.
She was like legit awful in Heathers.
She's gotten better as she's gotten older. She's become just, it's things evened out a bit and whatever. But no, the Department of Energy, and then also like power plants, water treatment facilities, those are actually where lots of these things emanate from. And no one really thinks about that when they're thinking about when the nuclear radiation facilities and all that kind of stuff. But what many people don't know is that a lot of what we think of as power plants, where they think it's kinds of, they don't think it's nuclear, but it's nuclear. They're doing nuclear stuff there. Yeah. So no, the Department of Energy is always going to be involved with this, but also think about what's been going on. I mean, we're used as batteries. So the Department of Energy would be in charge of harnessing biological, energy from ATP in the body towards the Borg, to mind control, right? So if you ever listen to some of the stuff that I've done with Michael and with other people, where we're talking about how the 3 or 4 or 5 letter acronyms for processes or genetic parts in the body, that they often match the 3 letter acronyms for cryptocurrencies or stock markets.
I've heard you guys talk about that.
Things like that. So for every outer world action, there's an inner body process. If you read F. David Pete with synchronicity, everything, reality is built on synchronicities, and the immune system is how you recognize those patterns. And so if you want to work on chaos theory and make sure people don't recognize what's going on around them, you're going to have to destroy their immune system. So adaptive, what did they call it? Some kind of biology, systems biology or whatever. So how do you have a fully functioning biological system that doesn't have an immune system strong enough to recognize the patterns around it that you don't want it to recognize, but is fully glommed onto the ones that you do want it to recognize, right? So that's where a lot of this stuff comes in. So the Department of Energy is always going to be a thing. And then you said something else that probably connects to what I have for my part of the dump in the second hour, but I can't remember what you said. So just continue.
Well, I want to share this one piece. I was sharing the screen about this Department of Energy.
Do you and Dan, I know what I was going to ask you. Do you and Dan, did you and Daniel have a relationship or a conversation, or you have any connection?
Daniel and I, so after I saw the video that we're not playing, we have a zillion Facebook friends in common. There's a lot of associated friends. Mm-hmm. I reached out to him on Facebook. I saw this talk. We're both doing the same thing with language. Would love to connect with you. We had an exchange going for a while. And then when I said, as soon as I know we're on YouTube now, as soon as the situation started in 2020, I reached out to him and I was like, it seems like we're trying to do the same thing as far as hacking the mind control and hacking, what's going on. It'd be great to share notes. He completely disappeared from the conversation. And that was when he started, very on board with the narrative. So we had a bunch of.
You said the 2 magic words, mind control. They never call it that. They never call it mind control.
Right. And it was when I said that, chat of like, it seems like we're trying to figure out the same thing, like share notes, he disappeared.
Yeah.
I just said that. Okay. So I did pull a couple pieces from this Department of Energy
If
thing.
you had said to him, we're trying to figure out how to make sense of this, he'd have
Right, for some sense making.
Right, because
Blah,
sense
blah, blah.
making is what they call it. That's the code to each other that you're part of the crew, is when
Totally.
you call it what it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this
Are you
report,
serious? It's Hyde Park Road.
it's legit Hyde Park Road, which
No,
is
there's
where 10,000
Hyde Park is a neighborhood here too, spelled the same way.
It's also down the street from the 10,000 Waves Japanese spa that went full Nazi as soon as all this happened. And like no one's allowed in without their papers. Okay, so notice the date. So this is a report from 94 to 99, final report to US Department of Energy. And we could, Emily, do you have the link to all those government contracts that David sent us?
So I can find that in email if you stop screen sharing.
I took stills. You know
Okay.
what? Let me go back before we get into this
Yeah.
one. So David Martin sent me this link. I think it's fine to use his name. And then the link went dead for me after like a week. But the link was to all of these defense contracts that Santa Fe Institute has national.
It was going back into the 90s. I looked at the list too. Yeah.
And they're always $40,000. Like,
Right.
and like, look at these numbers, 40,000, since 2008, it was $40,000.
That one up there was a couple that are zero. I saw some.
It goes to 0 or 40,000. Those are the only ones.
Yeah.
So, and there's also the piece, which also came from David, that you can't be a naval officer without doing a year-long residency at Santa Fe Institute.
Oh, interesting.
That's a requirement. And what's interesting about that is that they put Hunter Biden, he has some sort of like de facto Navy officership. I don't know where that came from. And then it'll tie us in when we get into back to the Consilience Project with Jamie Wheel, who his whole thing came from working with Navy SEALs and working with the Navy.
Right. Yeah.
All right, but these few pieces, and I'm not going to say them out loud because it's not worth it for us since we're on YouTube now. And where did it go? I was just in this. Here it is. So was it computational biology? Was that what you're looking for? So look at this. This was 94 to 99, 97, and they're talking about, I don't want to say the words because I don't want to get us into trouble, but they're talking about pathogens that lead to large scale toxic infection. They're talking about these words here.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, everybody can just push pause and look at the screen and read for themselves.
Yes, just read this because this was from there. And just some other things that, so Swarm came out of SFI and it's even on their Wikipedia page. And I was talking to Shane Bales about Swarm yesterday. They're very secretive about their funds, but core support, match from funds, McKinsey.
That's Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg and all of that, and Romney and everyone. Yep.
Okay. So just to get an idea of some of the things that they're into.
Scaling in biology and ecology, energy flow in ecosystems. Think what I've said about ATP in the body, right? The energy production in the body of the ATP tour, the tennis going around. Now there's an ATP. There's an ATP cryptocurrency. It's the Atlas Protocol cryptocurrency. It's going to be used for smart voting.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, exactly. So they get a lot of funding from DARPA, but again, it's all like, you have to read between the lines, but there's, SFI led to a program supported by DARPA for a total of 2.2 million. Okay, so they're clearly funded by DARPA. So just wanted to give us kind of an overview of some of the things that they're into. All right, so they're also, they launched something with Rockefeller in 2021. I'll just share the headline.
Well, I think it is interesting what you shared from Amazing Polly as well about the ayahuasca cult being there.
Right, with the Bronfmans?
Right. So I think we have to, I did 3 hours with Nish yesterday, getting into the more woo and esoteric iteration of the idea that's been dropped with the water documentary that came out with fast. We kind of stretched into the abstracts, but I think one thing to consider is because, and I'll get into this a little bit more when we talk about in the second hour, that these people around this operation are also very into psychedelic movement.
Massively. I have a tie-in with MAPS, and with 10,000 Ways Up the Street, they have completely pivoted to doing like high-end ketamine sessions.
So the psychedelic stuff, right, is going to be some of the new therapeutics, and a lot of people, so like when we're talking about serpents or snakes and poison and whatever, that could also be code for the ayahuasca or for that chemical compound.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
Right. So
yeah, psychedelics are a huge part of it, which is why I think it's really important to pay attention to the Aubrey Marcus, Jamie Wheel, these people who are working with psychedelics, who are in bed with Schmachtenberger, and we're going to continue to build out his relationships with SFI and then the other thing.
I mean, it would be really interesting, and I hadn't really thought about it exactly this way, although I was dancing around it with some ideas that, what would kind of happen if you dosed a population with ayahuasca, right? And you hear about sometimes when somebody has a bad trip down to the Amazon and they get taken in by a dark shaman, right? And it follows them home, right? It's not just over when they're—
I dated a guy who that happened to, and he like basically never recovered.
So like there was some energy about the last thing I had in December, that version, because I had it in 2019, the original version.
Yep.
About this last one that was really a lot like a deep, dark psychedelic experience, a little bit like some kind of like internal vision quest weirdness.
A lot of the people who also had that strain of sniffles around that time reported like dark psycho-emotional, that was a very strong component.
Yeah.
Everyone, I had it as well, and same thing.
And I was confused by it because I was microdosing at the time. So I thought it was from the microdose, which was weird because I've microdosed before and it's like always very light for me. And we did a different protocol this time. This time we did it with the lion's mane and the niacin. And so I was chalking it up just to that, but it shouldn't be that. I've taken it. It shouldn't. It would these kinds of like strange, not just dark thoughts and feelings, but the way the world looked to me looked different. It looked very, and not in the same way it looks different normally, like when you're microdosing or even on a big dose. This had this dark, wet edge to it.
And did it feel, because my take on it was like, this isn't I know my darkness. I know the flavors, I know the qualities, I know the tone, I know the texture. This isn't even mine.
Yeah, I was mean to Laura, and I'm not mean. I am not mean, and I'm definitely not mean to Laura. But like, this is what was weird, and I'm just going to say this. I was mean to her, and there was something about it that felt good, and that's not me, right? And as soon as it was over, it was like, oh my God, what the fuck was that? Like, you know what I mean? But there's, obviously, okay, well, we could have been writing this up to like a parasitic component because what works for it deals with that. But maybe it's this other thing, like maybe it's the ayahuasca sort of serpent, like that energetic sort of right? But the other thing about ayahuasca is it's also got anti-parasite components too. There's all kinds of weird stuff, right?
I think it's a frequency. I think it's all happening on the frequency level.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily anything physical, is my sense.
Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah. So anyway, so that is interesting. I was aware of that church. I wasn't aware that it was that close to Santa Fe. I don't know where I thought it was. I think I knew it was in the Southwest somewhere, but I didn't understand that, how close that was.
Right. I love that it's across the street from this like giant mansion. It's like, no, it's the shack. The Bronfmans have a shack. Ignore this thing.
That's where you get sent if you're bad.
Totally. All right. So just to keep us, I know we have so much. So they were part of this modeling accelerator. This was a collaboration between SFI and the Rockefeller Foundation. And again, they keep news of their donations. It's like locked tight. So it's a lot of weird sifting to find these. So now we have DARPA, Rockefeller. Let me show you guys the Gates one, just so we have it on record. I want to get much faster at sharing the screen. Okay, so this is Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, committed grants. Yep. October 2012, Santa Fe Institute, 1 million.
33 months, of course.
For global development.
Yeah.
Research and learning opportunities.
And then they also have something at the Indigenous Language Institute, which is also in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
These are their 4 Santa Fe's. But I think this is the only one that Santa Fe Institute.
Right, but remember if you look at the things that were part of something you brought up earlier, it had to do with language.
Well, that was the thing. And that was why I was like, that was why I was attracted to Daniel's work in the first place. And when you guys click through the link that we're going to include of that original SFI video that they're claiming has nothing to do with SFI, that's what he went.
Sorry about that, but those of you guys who watch me on a regular basis know that it's become sometimes a frequent occurrence that they show up to repair things mid-podcast. Like I've been waiting for weeks for them to come change the filter in my refrigerator because my ice tastes like mold, right? I don't eat it. I'm not eating it, right? But like it was literally weeks ago, like almost a month ago, right? And every single time they ever show up, it's in the middle of a podcast. It's not before the podcast. It's not after the podcast. It's not on a day I don't have a podcast. It's always right in the middle of the podcast. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Continue. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So one thing that I noticed about SFI, and I think that over the next few shows, we'll unpack the SFI players because there's so much there. This is our initial overview. But one thing that I noticed about the SFI players is that there's a really shocking amount of crossover between how many of them are on the Council of Foreign Relations and how many of them have something to do with the World Economic Forum. So I'm just going to do a screen share to show you what I'm talking about. So this is the World Economic Forum website. And these are the search results for Santa Fe Institute. Look how many, so David Krakauer is the current president of SFI. Look how many. John Clippinger, we'll get into him in a second because Clippinger started, I think it's called the Highland Forum. We'll come back to it. It's pretty dark shit. So Jeffrey West, Mark Pagel, look, there are 10 pages of crossover between the World Economic Forum and Santa Fe Institute.
Okay, just for a second, let's back way up. What does Santa Fe Institute say that it is? What do they say they are?
Okay, so let's pull it up. I went so overboard on this. All right, so according to Rolling Stone, they're a Justice League for renegade geeks. And their main thing is about complex systems. Right. So when we're talking about this work that they're doing with the military, it's all about like complexity and systems. But we can pull up their, wait, you know what? I have I think I have a video. Entertain the people while I see if I can find it.
So I'm going to say, so we started doing the research on this several months back. And so the way I start every single research project I pretty much do is I cross-reference the name of the thing that I'm looking at with the term mind control, right? Yep. See, and so this was the very first thing that came up. Jeffrey Epstein liked palling around with scientists. When you could write Santa Fe Institute mind control, that's what you get.
Yep.
Okay. But there's like almost nothing. Okay, so there's this paper here that I haven't read, but I did think, okay, this is more what I was looking for. Routing strategies for brain networks, right?
Yep.
Neural networking is a huge part of what they call the secret space program and what I call the mind control, mind control, basically. There's a few other things here. Gestures and spatial frames of reference and whatever. That's from ResearchGate. A lot of times you'll find papers on mind control there, right? But then it just drops down into stuff about a Santa Fe school shooting here, and there's another article about the Santa Fe school shooting here, gun control or mind control, right? I didn't even know there was a Santa Fe school shooting. But the only time the actual term mind control, and it's weird because you'd think this would come up in the top, is in this human current, right? A complex systems approach to countering mind control.
Right.
At Portland State University, which is interesting, right? And it's the external professor of the Santa Fe Institute, Melanie Mitchell. And what it looked like this is a podcast that is somehow produced by someone at Santa Fe Institute.
Yep. They have a lot of podcasts and a lot of media is coming out of Santa Fe Institute.
So but this is not mind control in the way that you and I think about mind control, right? They're talking about something else. But
Yep.
this is like a really, this is page 2. How did that happen? I ended up on page 4. It's not a very big, it's not a very big list of anything. What is this? This is a different.
No, I mean, a lot of the people are like in physics. It's a lot of people from the nuke labs, right? Murray Gell-Mann was one of the founders who Eric Weinstein refers to quite a bit.
Mhm.
And there's a whole video exposing him as a fraud, which we'll get into. But if you check out their Twitter and their Facebook page, it's a lot of the woke agenda. It's
Right.
a lot of like, the sniffles affect Black people more, and a lot of the woke stuff, and also a lot of the climate hysteria. That's what's coming out of them on their socials.
Okay, so I think that I also looked up I was trying to find that NSA report that you were saying that video in Russia.
So it's impossible to find, and I reached out to them.
I think,
go ahead.
I think it's from the Computational Social Science Annual Conference.
Will you pull it up? Because they denied it. Now they're ignoring me. When I reached out to say, what exactly is your relationship with Meow Wolf? All of a sudden I'm being completely ghosted by them.
So this is a computational social science, and this will come into what we talk about in the second hour based on some of the things that we were enlightened of. But I think this is what it. I think this is the. I don't
think so.
No. Okay.
Computational social science.
Yeah.
It might be. I mean, he's in that video. He said that they were playing out some sort of crisis situation,
right?
And then looking at all the different, there was like an AI piece, and there was a media piece.
Computational behavioral programming. Computational.
Okay, then that is it.
Okay, so these windows have been open since you first mentioned. The day that you mentioned Santa Fe Institute to me, I went and opened this stuff and was doing stuff around. So whenever there's this much murkiness about it, right? Like if you're really at the cutting edge of what they say they are, like, and I look up mind control and don't see any reference to MK Ultra, this is MK Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and there's so much interweaving with CIA and with DARPA. And I'm just going through my notes before we wrap up this first hour in terms of what SFI is and what they're doing. I just want to make sure I'm not skipping anything.
Okay.
I have their digital report. We have their World Economic Forum. So this guy, John Clippinger, who we saw on the World Economic Forum crossover, he is part of the Highlands Forum. And so they're the ones who worked with the CIA to create Google and who have just now created the digital vaccine passports. So they developed, if we pull up their Wikipedia page, is it easier for you to do it or for me to do it?
I'll do it. Santa Fe. Okay.
So if you pull up their Wikipedia page, they're really proud of their swarm program.
Okay. So let's see what we got here. All right. So I just want to hear. So let's hear what Wikipedia says they are, and then we'll go on their website. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Have you seen the logo for the Azov Battalion in Ukraine?
No, but I did a whole show with Mo about it and about how all the mainstream media is talking about it, but they won't show it.
Look at this. Look at this one right here.
So it's a swastika.
Look at that, and then look at that.
Dude, that's the Nazi. So go back. It was like the Nazi Black Sun one.
Right.
Jesus.
And then that's the one for Santa Fe Institute. Okay.
Wow.
All right. So Wikipedia says that Santa Fe Institute is an independent, nonprofit, theoretical research institute. Theoretically, it's a research institute, but we know it's something else. Theoretical Research Institute located in Santa Fe and dedicated to the multidisciplinary study of the fundamental principles of complex adaptive systems, including physical, computational, biological, and social systems. The Institute is ranked 24th among the world's top science and technology think tanks and 24th among the best transdisciplinary research think tanks. That is odd that it would be ranked 24th in two different lists. Like, that is weird. According to the 2020 edition of the Global Go. Okay, and just think we're at 2022 here. So
Wait, that's weird. That is weird. It's got the 24 twice.
Right. So my guess would be this is code for whatever is going to be let go in 2024 is what they're working. We have 2020 here. Twice. Edition of the Global Go-To Think Tank Index reports published annually by the University of Pennsylvania. Who famously went to the University of Pennsylvania?
I don't know.
Brett Weinstein. Do. The Institute.
Right. Did Heather go there too with him?
I don't think so. I think that, let's see. Brett Weinstein, UPenn. I think this is where he had his controversy, where he got like 1991 Penn, he graduated from Penn, is accused of racism, right? So he graduated from Penn. Right.
And we will see how he is related to this in the next couple shows.
Okay. So anywho, I just had to say that I was pretty sure. All right. So, okay.
Scroll down. Okay. So there it was, started as the Rio Grande Institute. And do you want to get it? I don't know if you're going to get into the second hour of what David told us about that.
We're going to talk about it all in the second hour.
Okay, cool.
But you just keep giving yourself away.
I didn't say it. Sorry. This is what happens. It's like information overload.
Information overload. So, okay. So basically,
scroll down to the part where they brag about Swarm
Development Group. The Swarm Development Group is an American nonprofit organization to advance the development of complex, adaptive, system-oriented, agent-based modeling tools initiated at, well, I'd say that Brett Weinstein is definitely a system-oriented, agent-based modeling tool. Right, in Santa Fe. It was formed in 1999. It would be interesting.
Dave was talking yesterday about the swarm technology that they were, experimenting on him with as a kid.
All right, I just want to see when he started working at Evergreen.
It says until 2017.
Right, but when did he start working there? Look at this. Evolutionary trade-offs, emergent constraints, and the adaptive consequences. So he was already pushing that line all the way back there. But when did he start working at Evergreen? Where is his run at Evergreen? When did he get hired at Evergreen? In 2002, he published the paper. So that thing, they started Swarm in 1999, and in 2002, he published this paper.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't say when he started working, when he got hired at Evergreen. It doesn't say when he started.
It's probably on Evergreen, like if Wikipedia doesn't have it.
All right. I don't want to spend too much time there, but okay. Yeah. So that was that. And then I want to go to Santa Fe Institute and see for that, what they say about themselves. I want to see
what's interesting is if anyone is interested, if you follow them on Twitter, it would seem that they're like a social justice organization.
Okay, so let's just see here we go. Okay, this is it. This is all, okay. Our mission is to search for order in the complexity of evolving worlds. The New World Order, right? I don't know. Our researchers endeavor to understand and unify the underlying shared patterns in complex physical, biological, social, cultural, and technological, and even possible astrobiological worlds. Astrobiological, okay? Right? Mm-hmm. Space is inside of you, okay? Yep. Our global research network of scholars spans borders, departments, and disciplines, unifying curious minds steeped in rigorous, logical, mathematical, and computational reasoning, right? Computational reasoning. As we reveal the unseen mechanisms and processes that shape these evolving worlds, we seek to use this understanding so using mind control to make everything okay. Basically, what we're talking about here. All right. So that's what they say about themselves. And they...
Oh, check that out. Mathematical immunology, HIV, influenza, Ebola, the microbiome. What does that have to do with anything that they just listed? There's a lot of stuff. David actually said that they landed on his...
Small worlds. Like fucking, do they sponsor it at Disneyland and shit like that? Like
probably.
State limits to life.
Considering Meow Wolf is now owned by Disney and they're in Santa Fe. Oh yeah, they were bought by Disney. And it was as soon as I said, what's your relationship to Meow Wolf, that they went silent.
Bye-bye, okay.
Oh look, agent-based modeling, pandemics, evolutionary economics, game mechanics, conflict modeling.
Wait a second. What's the name of that show? Rebel Wisdom. I think their last episode was called Agent in the Arena. Let's just see. Oh, damn, I'm good. Okay. That guy was on your list. John Vervaeke was on that list of the World Economic Forum.
Oh wait, we'll get, now you're giving it away. We will get to John Vervaeke because he's a super part of it. And if you look up Rebel Wisdom's guest list, it's all this.
Yes.
It's all SFI and then where we're going with it.
Oh my God, this is my foot
again.
That's my niece. My niece is calling on FaceTime, but we'll get that another time. Okay. All right. Religious wars of the pandemic endgame. That's pretty interesting, right? Okay. No, I think David. I mean, this is. He bothers me a lot. And he has co-opted the color palette, the symbology, all of that kind of stuff of both the psychedelic world and the conspiracy world to turn them into controlled models of both.
Completely.
Yeah.
Well, he's 100% controlled. So when we get to the Consilience Project, we'll see how much Santa Fe Institute is represented there. David Fuller is part of that. One thing I realize is how David Fuller calls all his videos films.
Right.
If you're a journalist, you're not putting out films. Films imply some sort of fictionalization. I found that really interesting, but we'll get to it in another show, the kind of wide angle overview of David Fuller and how he's a propaganda tool for this whole thing.
Like, I almost wonder what it would be like to just camp outside of Santa Fe Institute, just park our car there and just do a sit-in and just see who comes and goes, right? Just to check it out, because I don't think it's where is it? Where in town is it?
It's up the ski mountain. which is weird to have like, because up the ski mountain, you have 10,000 waves, you have a bunch of hiking trails, you don't have businesses up there. That's where it is. I mean, last time Ross and I went hiking up there, I'm like, we have to go to Santa Fe Institute. I want to sneak into the grounds. And he was like, no, calm down.
Okay, let's see.
What, given everything that, like, let's take Gates aside, though we know what he puts his money into, but like, why would Epstein be giving them money to discuss complexity systems? Like, it just doesn't.
Well, he was a math teacher, right? Like apparently that is the truth, that when he got discovered and moved into whatever role he's been playing, you know, or whatever, he was a math teacher. So I think he tends towards math and physics, but like lots of people do, it doesn't mean they're anything special in that. Is this SFI? Is that what it looks like?
No.
Okay, I was like, wow.
No.
Okay. So, but if it's up on the mountain, then there's something under the ground there. So it's an entrance to a base.
That makes sense. That totally makes sense because it's up.
And there's not really much. Is this right?
Yes.
That's what it looks like?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. And there's nothing else going on except those waters, which are privately owned and went total Nazi.
Okay.
So do you know who Jim Rutt is?
I'd never heard of him, so you sent me something the other day.
He has a podcast, we'll check it out, but he's also Santa Fe Institute.
All right, so they really do just make this look like, oh, we're just a bunch of fucking multicultural geeks that like hang out here and we're, you know, all right.
The multicultural thing is so ridiculous when they push that in Santa Fe.
Right.
So that's the Santa Fe Art Institute, which is not the same.
Okay.
There might be some sort of synergistic relationship because they did go totally woke. But it's ridiculous. It's like it's not a very diverse city.
Is that the swarm? Is that the swarm right there?
I guess.
All right. Okay. So I guess mostly what this episode has been is we're going to be doing a deep dive into Santa Fe Institute and all the things that connect to it. So we just kind of wanted to give sort of an introduction here. I think we're going to move over into Afterwords. And we got like a little bit of assistance, or Danny got a little bit of assistance from a friend of ours about the background on this. And then she didn't even know what to do with it. So I was like, I'll decode it. So I just basically was working from her notes and just came up with a pile of stuff that I tend to come up with, and we'll see what we can do with it. So we're going to move over into the Afterwords segment to do that. Is there anything that you want to sort of leave people with on the front end of Santa Fe Institute as we move into this series? We're just going to do as many episodes on this and the things and the people related to it as we need to sort of get to the bottom of it. So that's what things are going to be for the next, certainly at least couple of episodes, but we'll see. It's just going to be, we don't know how many wormholes are going to open up here. So many, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we just scratched the surface today. I would like everyone to go to click through the link to watch the Schmachtenberger video, because it goes into like the Trojan horse that is Schmachtenberger in the first half. Then we get into the nefarious, creepy part. And then there's kind of like a tell where he reveals himself as a psychopath, and he literally says it. And just keep in mind that this was sponsored by and happened at Santa Fe Institute.
Who's now scrubbed any connection to him.
Totally scrubbed.
But the other thing is, you just said something. My mind is just, I don't know what is happening with my brain some of these days. You said something that I wanted to sort of clip onto there. Oh, I know. I'm going to also link to the video of the Russian guy talking about Santa Fe. So go down to the description box and the links for both the Schmachtenberger video and then the video of the Russian guy talking about this. That is what sort of opened this up for Dani in the first place. Also, I will link to that Department of Energy paper that you shared, so people can go ahead and read that for themselves if they like to. And we implore you, if there's some part of this that is interesting to any one of you, or some part of this topic that somebody out there knows stuff about, join in with us. If you find some good stuff, you can come on and chat with us, or you can just feed us the research if you're not interested in this stuff and whatever. But please, both of us have 1,052 things we're doing, and this actually could be a full-time job researching what's going on over there. So if anybody's feeling so inclined to jump in and help, we'll be happy to give you credit. If you want to come on and help us with this, that's fine. The other thing, I want to ask everyone to go over and become a member at our locals page, wordspodcast.locals.com. And there will be in the description box as well a promo code for a free month over there. For right now, the video version of Afterwords is only available there. So if you want to see the video version, you need to go there to see that. And we will see you over there for Afterwords. Audio versions will be available on Dani and I's separate other locations, but we're going to move into Afterwords right now, and I'm going to give my dump. See, like I give it, because that's kind of what it is. It's like a big shit. So anywho, all right, you can find Dani at DaniCatz.com, on locals at Dani Katz, Patreon Dani Katz. You guys know where to find me. We'll see you on the other side.
Bye.